What is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name's Josh, and on today's episode, we are talking about different features that I think need to be included inside the VeVeVerse. So just before the holidays took place, we had a little leak with the VeVeVerse beta invites, and they were given out to some people before they were actually meant to. Anyone who got the email just to get a follow-up saying that they're pulling it did get a little sneak peek and now know that they're in the next wave. I was not one of those people, so I'm gonna have to wait a little bit longer, but I figured I could still put out a video like today to push my way into the beta. So please keep in mind, guys, that I am not actually inside the VeVeVerse, but these are going to be features that I want to see included. So in today's episode, we're talking about 9. Grab your favorite drink, grab your favorite snack, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so the first one might seem a little weird here, and that is going to be jumping. Now, for those who have seen all of our cavernous episodes, you guys know that I've dabbled inside the free trial. But when I was inside, I could not for the life of me figure out how to jump. So I really hope this is actually a feature. I did actually even try and go into the settings menu to see if it pointed out like a specific control, and I still couldn't find anything. Now, the VeVeVerse is built inside Unity and Unreal Engine. So they're both gaming engines and both have the capabilities of making an avatar jump. I think maybe it just wasn't available in the free trial, but then again, I don't know why they would take a feature like that out. But when I get access to the VeVeVerse, if I'm in avatar mode and I click my spacebar on my keyboard, I want my avatar to jump. And of course, that's going to allow for many other things as well, like games, platformer games that we've talked about in the past. If you can't jump, that's going to limit a lot. So next up, I want to be able to merge objects when I'm building. So if I use multiple simple shapes to build a larger object, let's say a house, for example, I would love the ability to merge those simple shapes so that I can click on the entire object as one instead of the 20, 30, or 40 different objects that I put together to build it, and then be able to just scale up the whole thing, scale down the whole thing, move it around, duplicate it, whatever I need to. So this would be useful for creating repetitive structures or populating large areas with similar elements. Moving on, and keep in mind, guys, I am not expecting all these features to be available right away. These would be some features that I would like to see in the future, but one of which is going to be a custom interface. So many design softwares allow you to customize your workspace. If I hop into Blender or Photoshop or GIMP, I can grab the different tabs of the dashboard, like my color wheel or fonts or whatever it is, and I can move the layout around to my liking. So every digital artist has their own layout inside the platform that they use. It's what they become accustomed to, and the personalization enhances the user comfort, but also accelerates the building process, or the drawing process, or the video making process, or whatever it is. So again, I wouldn't expect something like this right away, but I would eventually like the ability to move things around, or even add things that are missing. Moving on, we got hotkeys, and this is going to be very similar to the custom interface point we just talked about, but in this case, hotkeys are assigning specific keys on your keyboard to certain actions that you use often. And as mentioned already, the personalization enhances user comfort and the overall building process. Now, considering we have more space to work with in our home space than we originally thought, I would love to eventually have the ability to procedurally generate objects. So for anyone who doesn't know what this is, you would have the ability to randomize objects, and this would help automate certain parts of your building process. So I'll give you an example. The bottom point here says, this can speed up the process of generating landscapes, textures, or even entire structures. So let's go with landscapes. If I'm trying to build a landscape and I want it to be, let's say, a rocky terrain, if I procedurally generate that rock so that it randomly appears throughout that landscape, that would save me so much time than having to place each individual rock. We already talked about merging smaller shapes into a larger object. Well, instead of duplicating that larger object, what if you can merge those shapes into that larger object and then just procedurally generate the house to make an entire neighborhood? Procedural generation is a really good way to say work smart versus hard. Next up is going to be something you see in a lot of games nowadays. That is going to be a day and night cycle. We do know that you can import skyboxes. You can import a daylight skybox and then a nighttime skybox. But in terms of having them rotate, or even that's another idea right there, actually. Timed skyboxes, having them rotate after a certain amount of time. That'd be cool. I guess that might actually be a way of doing this, but incorporate a dynamic day-night cycle that can be adjusted by builders. This would affect lighting conditions and then also contribute to the overall ambiance of the virtual environment. If you guys watched the 2023 recap video, there was a point that I highlighted talking about color changing collectibles. So there is a particular Jordan that actually changes colors when you walk outside into the sun. And I mentioned how it'd be cool if a collectible changed in some way if it hit, let's say, a particle effect, or it was placed under a light or something like that. So, I mean, a day and night cycle, that could pertain to a point like that as well. Your collectibles appear one way at night, and then all of a sudden it changes to day, and they appear another way. Next, we're going to have multi-object editing. And speaking of working smart versus hard, this would be another fantastic example. Now, this would allow designers to edit multiple objects simultaneously, and it would streamline the process of making changes across various elements in a scene, particularly complex ones. Let's say I create an entire scene and I have the roof of all the buildings in that scene a particular color, and then I finish everything up, and the more and more I look at it, I go, okay, hang on a sec. Maybe the red roof on these buildings, I want to change to blue. Well, if I don't have a multi-object editing tool, I'm going to have to go from roof to roof and change all the colors individually. If I have a tool like this, then I can select all the roofs at once and change them all at the same time. And there would be many ways that you could use a tool like this as well. Next on the list are going to be sculpting tools. I did not see any in the Cavernous free trial, but I would love the ability to place something like a cube and just mold it into a shape that I like. I do think there would have to be limitations on this tool though, where you can't apply it to like collectibles or things like that. But when I think of products like the Apple Vision Pro that's getting released in the coming months, and I think about walking around the VeVeVerse in AR, being able to sculpt things in first person would be awesome. A feature like this would also be useful for character design, so if you're an artist yourself, or just creating natural and detailed shapes. And last but not least, the big one, physics. For me, there's a big question mark around this one, because there was nothing in Cavernous' free trial that made this obvious, and there was nothing in the Gothic City trailer that made it obvious either. But integrating physics would allow builders to create objects with realistic behaviors. And of course, this would be useful for designing interactive elements or games. So we've talked about platformers in one of our recent episodes where I was actually in Blender. I put together that little game where you drop things down onto the target. Even the first mini game I showed in that episode as well, with the vehicles pushing people off the ledge, that would only work if something actually happens when the vehicle makes contact with the player. So I really hope this will be included. But if I drop something, it needs to drop, or it should drop, not just float. And going right back to our first point here, this would allow for things like jumping. Ladies and gents, that's going to conclude today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Those are going to be 9 features that I hope to see in the VeVeVerse when we get access. And speaking of access, I really do hope they start rolling these waves out faster. If there are any features that you guys want to see that I did not mention in this episode, please comment them down below. I am going to tag VeVe over on Twitter when I release this episode, so I really hope they do watch this one. Again, just to be clear, I am not in the VeVeVerse, so some of these features may actually already be available. But for any of the ones that aren't, those would be my suggestions. Another quick reminder for 1,000 sub celebration happening in the Discord this weekend. So if you guys do want to participate in that, you can join as a Cub or a Panther in the description. On top of the Discord, you will also get a range of other perks. One of the perks is going to be a GCU subscription, and we do actually have 2 more countries joining soon. But if you enjoy the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode, and as for our next, I'll catch you then.